done it. The series has been won by the
Blues. All right, welcome to Behind Blue Eyes. You're always a Frank Sinatra fan, weren't you, Block?
I were, but brown eyes, me. I'm sorry, my brown-eyed girl. What, couldn't we get something out of that? Or
Bit of Van Morrison. But
yeah,
how
like
good's Origin? Origin is here. I know you get excited. I know you got to calm down because you're excited, though, aren't you?
I'm always excited about Origin, mate. How long have we been going? Since 1980. I've got a little bit of trivia before we go on. Now, in 1980...
But they said it wasn't going to work.
They did. They said it wasn't going to work. I tell you, it made it. When I saw Big Arthur running out there coughing and spluttering and wiping that white powder over his jumper and that, there was steam coming out of his ears. But a little bit of trivia for you. I played in the under-18s before the very first State of Origin.
That night at Lang Park.
New South Wales versus Queensland.
We're going to have to try and get a bit of that vision, I think.
Well, I would have been, a lean, keen fighting machine, but, there's been a few years gone on to the tummy.
You're not Robinson Crusoe, Stephen. So what was that night like? Since you're going to start there, what was that night like? Look, you grew up in Wollongong and you love footy and had the opportunity to play at Lang Park. That night, no one would know what Origin was to become.
Never saw anything like it. It was unbelievable. Tommy Riodonicus was the mighty Blues captain and the great Arthur Beetson, who... was my favourite player of all time and was playing a little bit of reserve grade at the time.
Yeah, Parramatta, yeah.
They pick him in the side, and if you remember back to 1980, he snotted the great Mike Cronin, his own teammate. And I think that, we could say, Origin's fair income. For years and years before State of Origin, all these guys from Queensland like Beetson and Rod Reddy and all those sort of guys all played for New South Wales, and they used to go up there and they'd flog Queensland. But then they got finally their team to cheer about, and I think they still run off it now, all these years later.
It's certainly part of their psychology, isn't it? Because they said back in 1980, and I remember it as a boy, this won't work because team mates won't hit mates. But then as soon as you mentioned, Arthur did it to Mick Cronin, the world's nicest bloke, the pub owner from Gerringong, it was on, and it's been like on like Donkey Kong ever since. Now, we have the Shield, Block. We got the Shield. What's the team? What's the Stephen Roach team you would pick for game one?
I've got it on my mobile here because, I'm not that great with the memory in these days, right? Because I've had more hits than Elvis Presley, really. But anyway, by the way, my team, now we've got to state that this is my footy side, right? This is a team that I would pick. James Tedesco at fullback. The wingers are Kotrick and Addo Carr. The centres, Latrell Mitchell. And I did have Tom Tavoyevich in the centres, but he's not in now. Now I've gone for Josh Morris.
Okay.
I think we need an experienced player up there in Queensland the first game, because if you have a look at our record, it's not that good up there.
No, it's tough. Was it no Blake Ferguson?
Not at this stage.
Okay.
Not at this stage, mate. But if we had a little bit of a reshuffle, I think he'd be next in line.
Okay.
My halfback is Mitchell Pearce. Now, that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows and say, Mitchell Pearce is scarred by State of Origin. He's in the best form of his career. He's leading the Daily M's at the moment. He's the best player in the comp, I reckon, at the moment. And they say, he's scarred by Origin. What does that mean? What does scarred by Origin mean? That great side that they had with Inglis and Cronk and Slater and all those sort of guys, Smith, mate, who wouldn't have been scarred? There's 30 other blokes that have been scarred by Origin. For me, his form is that good that we should pick him, and I reckon he would be a sensation. I mentioned Luke Keary at 5'8". My front row is David Clemmer and McLean. I really like the North Queensland Cowboy, former Melbourne Storm. I'll tell you the reason why I pick him. A lot of people raise their eyebrows about that too. The way that he can find his front, quick play the balls, generate, play the ball speed. That's where the game's won now. And off the back of that, we could have the hooker in Cook, who's just so explosive out of dummy half. Obviously, Boyd Cordner is my captain. Frizzell, Jake Tavoyevich. Tough as nails. I love that bloke. And then my bench would be Jack Whiten. That might raise a few. Cam Murray, Tarek Sims, and Paul Vaughan, just for that extra front row.
Yeah, and I think Cam Murray will be there. And I'm only thinking off the top of my head, he's in compelling form. He's not a big body, but boy, hasn't he done a great job?
I don't think I've ever... Well, the lock forward position's changed because of this guy now. Mate, leg speed, got an unbelievable ability to have footwork late at the line and strength to bust the line. I think helps playing with the Burgess boys and Cook and all that, but I think this guy would thrive in Origin.
See, Mitchell Pearce, and look, he is in cracking form. he probably won't get picked.
I don't think they'll pick him either.
Yeah. So
but this is my side.
I know it is, and I'm not going to get in an argument with you right yet. We may have some arguments because we're here for 9 weeks, but that's okay.
Well, we'll
leave as friends.
We'll
always leave as friends.
Do you know what? After the game, I'll shake your hand, and that'll be it. We'll be out the door and have a cappuccino.
A cappuccino, maybe even a cold libation.
Thank you.
But what about Nathan Cleary? Because he's probably going to get picked, or he's a very good chance of being picked. What does he need to do to turn around what we've been seeing week in, week out with Penrith? Because it's been a disaster for Penrith season 2019.
I don't think he's been playing that bad. Now, his number one job, if you have a look at their season so far, is his kicking game. I think it's on song. I think there's patches in his game that playing with a better side and taking control of a team would be good up there in Queensland if he does get picked. And I think I'm with you. I only picked Mitchell Pearce because I think he should be on the side. But I think that they will pick Nathan Cleary. And his kicking game, he's just got to lead the boys around. Now he's going to play with a lot better team. The one thing that you don't want to go to Queensland when you're playing up there in the first game is lack confidence. That's the only question mark over him at the moment. But I think he's been playing some pretty good footy. His side's been flogged. But who's the number one bloke we blame every time the sides aren't going well? The poor old Seven. He gets smacked.
What about James Maloney? You left him out. Is his Origin life over? Is he done?
I wouldn't say it's over. He could play his way back in, but you can't have, the halves are the focal point of your football side. You can't have two of them playing terribly. And James would be first to admit, but in that arena, mate, he's a great competitor. But I think Keary has almost insisted by his form be picked in the side. And when you add on that left side with Keary, Boyd Cordner, and also Latrell Mitchell, you don't want to. I love combinations, team combinations. You go up there. Our left side's pretty solid. Our right side is I'm a little bit worried about at the moment.
Yeah, and you've got to work that out, don't you? Because that right centre, obviously, Jimmy the Jet's playing reserve grade. There's no hope of. I mean, I spoke to Freddie the other day, and he went back to Ray Brown when Ray Brown came in from.
Well, he's not going to pick Ray Brown, is he?
No, Ray won't be playing.
Oh.
But remember Ray Brown came in when Krilich was hooker and he played Origin. But he had to go back to, I think it was 1982, the third year of Origin.
Well, Manly had an Australian side in their reserve grade that year, you remember?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, blokes like Shuey and all those sort of guys.
But he won't pick Jimmy the Jet, will he? You can't be picked in an Origin side from reserve grade, can you? That'd be an extraordinary selection.
Well,
he's talented.
Yeah, especially how the Titans are going. My mail is that he wants out of there. So
Brisbane.
I'll get some good mail. Sorry, the Brisbane side. I'll get some good mail, mate.
Yeah, that he wants out of there.
He wants out.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one. Anyway, so he's not there. It's going to be interesting to see who is picked in that right centre position. You've gone for Josh Morris.
Only because purely his defensive effort, and he's been there and done that before.
His experience. All right, Regan Campbell-Gillard. He's not even in the top team at Penrith.
No.
How does that happen? How does he go? And I know he's had a couple of broken jaws, but how does he go from you couldn't leave him out of any rep team last year to not even making the Penrith team?
Well, it's a confidence thing, mate. He's, I watch him now when he's running the footy. He's sort of turned into people. But I defy anyone in our game of rugby league, especially in the front row where it's confrontational. Two broken jaws is going to do it to you, mate. You might be able to get out of one, but you break your jaw again, mate. It's a horrific thing to go through. And having those two jaws, it's obviously a confidence thing. He needs to go back in reserve grade and get 10, 15 games under his belt, get his confidence back. Is
he gun shy? Would you say gun shy?
I would say. I feel sorry for him too. I know all about those facial fractures and all that sort of stuff. And mate, I can assure you, in that position, there's no way you can tip your toe in the water. You got to go as hard as you can every time that you play. So if you're a little bit gun shy, which I don't blame him being after that couple of broken jaws, I think it's going to be tough for him.
Can he get it right? Can he? Is it a mental thing?
No, it's a mental thing for sure. But it's a very painful thing too, mate. So it takes a long time to get over that sort of thing, and then line up. It's all right if you're a centre or a winger or whatever. You're not going to have that confrontation where 3 or 4 blokes are trying to smash you every week in and week out. And he needs to go back, get his confidence back, and mate, hopefully he can get back there one time.
Oh, I found it extraordinary when Freddie said to us the other day that he's had some sleepless nights. I didn't think it was anything that would keep him awake.
Freddie will.
Yeah. No, he said he's had some sleepless nights because, he has to come up. Well, a lot of this team's going to pick itself. The Tedesco's going to be there. Mitchell's going to be there. Cook's going to be. A lot of guys. Frizzell's going to be. A lot of these guys are going to be there. But for him, Freddie, he's got to get all these other positions right, and it's more difficult this year because he has a relationship with them of the incumbents.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
It is, and mate, the biggest thing for his mind is these guys did the job for him last year. And mate, there's always a fair bit of loyalty, and those sort of guys. If you're a coach and someone does something for you as big as winning a State of Origin series, mate, it's going to be a difficult thing to leave those guys out of the side. But in saying that, if someone's playing better, they used to say, let's pick the best 17 and then fit them all in, So, they've got a big job. The thing I like about Freddie too is he's not just tied up in his own thoughts. Like, he's got some blokes that advise him, very smart blokes, Greg Alexander and all that sort of guys, Danny Badiris. The thing I like about him is that he'll go to those guys and they'll work out different scenarios and what's the best for the team and the state. So they'll come up with a good side.
Yeah, they're a good mix, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've got Brandy over here who's a bit of a scientist. You've got Badiris who is methodical. You've got Freddie who's the free-thinking sort of take your shoes off, let's walk across the field, as well as being a clever guy, and Craig Fitzgibbon who is a very good rugby.
Craig.
But another great rugby league mind.
Yeah, he is.
It's going to be interesting. Jack Whiten, you've got Jack Whiten in there as your interchange player. You don't have Peachy, you don't have Cody Walker.
Yeah.
You've obviously, to Jack Whiten's credit, he had some off-field drama, didn't he? And he's turned that around, and he's become a really good quality number 6.
See, Jack Whiten not only at 6. The reason that I pick him in the side is I looked at all those other guys, and Jack Whiten could play in a number of positions. He could play fullback, wing, centre, second row lock. You could put this bloke anywhere. That's the reasoning. And he's an Origin player. Like, mate, he's a gutsy running player. I love big 5'8" or wherever he's going to fit in at lock or 5'8" or wherever they're going to put him in the centres. And the reason that I got him on the bench is because I think he covers a lot of bases.
I suppose it's hard to leave Cody Walker out, but you can only pick 17 players, can't you?
Yeah, but you got to have a look at it. Like Keary and those sort of guys, as I mentioned, with that left side with the Roosters, he's going to play 80 minutes unless he gets hurt.
Yep.
He's a bloody competitor, isn't he? That kid, he deserves to be there. And, Cody Walker, he couldn't have done any more to play in State of Origin, but I reckon a lot of the talk is about, how you fit all these guys in.
The other thing is it is 3 games, isn't it? So, look, if they win in Queensland, there'll be few changes if there's,
if they win in Queensland, there won't be any changes.
Yeah, exactly, unless there's injuries.
Yeah,
but if they don't, let's be the devil's advocate here. If they don't...
With the great thing for Mitchell Pearce, I don't want them to lose in the first game, but just say they did, and we picked Cleary in the first game. If they pick Mitchell Pearce in the first game, there'd be a media scrum. Mate, it'd be unbelievable about how can you pick this guy and why is he in the side? And no. If they did happen to lose the first game, which I hope they don't, if they did, maybe you could slot a bloke like that in the second game. Yeah,
and there's going to be some big noise around Nathan Cleary being picked anyway, isn't it? So they must be these 4 guys, Freddie and the boys, must be thinking that as well, thinking, okay, if we're going to pick him, we've got to be prepared for this, and how do we protect him for that week and a half? Because there are already people in the media. There's nothing spoken about more than Origin in New South Wales, is there?
Yeah.
So he's going to be under a huge microscope all the way through to the game.
The other thing is how you pick your team and what sort of team you got. Like, go back to when Joey was playing. He was the focal point of the team. Everything sort of happened off Joey Johns. But if you have a look at Cleary now, he's a kicking game player and an organiser and setting things up. He's not going to really take the line on himself like Joey used to do. And just because of Joey's presence when he was there, he was like the King Cocky, wasn't he? He was like the boss Cocky. Depending on your side, if you have a look at our, what our forward pack's going to be, I reckon that's our strength. I reckon that's where we should play, down that middle, nice, fast and flat. Now, Cleary can organise all that sort of stuff. So you've got to have a look at, the fit for the football side. And I think they'll keep him because of his kicking game. It's been pretty good.
Look, it's pretty obvious it's going to be tough, isn't it? Like Queensland, every time someone says, "Oh, Queensland, they're going to be the underdogs," go and look at that team.
I had a look at this.
You got Ponga.
Wow.
You got Munster. You got this pretty damn good forward pack. Obviously, they've got to work out their hooker. Does Ben Hunt come in at hooker?
I reckon that's what they'll do. But the other bloke who's in great form as a forward at the moment is Papali from Canberra. Now, if you take your eyes off someone else is going to jump through the ground. I did the game last week, the Newcastle game against Saints. Ponga. I said in the commentary that he reminds me of Brett Kenny. The balance, mate, is unbelievable. And to think this kid's 20. That's the big one for New South Wales. That they've got to try and control Munster and Ponga at the back. So, but if you concentrate too much on those guys, someone else will pop up somewhere and do damage.
It's going to be electrifying. There's little question of that. Now, where does New South Wales need to improve? You watch 2018. You always have room for improvement, don't you, in this game? Where do they need to improve? I
think they've got to improve when they play up in Queensland. I think that's the big thing. Our record is terrible up there, and they've got to go on a run now. They can't just win one series and then all of a sudden drop out the back in Queensland and win again. I think the improvement has got to be this first game in Queensland. We've got to be able somehow win a game up there.
Because Perth's going to be an interesting variable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Usually when we play a game in Melbourne or somewhere else, they invariably go for Queensland.
They do.
You do. And I expect that to be the
It's
same
only
in
because
Perth.
we've got all the beautiful beaches and all that sort of stuff.
And beautiful people.
Yeah, that's it.
You and me.
Yeah.
But it will be. Well, I think it'll be predominantly Queensland. And there's so many unknowns to Perth. It's a long way away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. And I reckon it's great for the game. We take one game away and... mate, but we say it every year in State of Origin. It's just imperative to win that first game. You've got to win that first one, and then it sort of loosens the shackles a little bit, and you can relax a little bit more. That away game, as you mentioned, we played a couple of years ago in Melbourne, New South Wales, and mate, all sorts of things that we were put 30 kilometres out, and the bus didn't go properly, and we were all worried about, things that you can't really control. And New South Wales went out and smashed them. So. I don't know. It's a personal thing. It's all about preparing yourself properly to play against Queensland. And mate, hopefully we can go 1-0 and then head over to Perth and go to the wineries and all that sort of stuff.
My word! Can I go?
Yeah,
the Margaret River.
Cool. We won't take any players. It's just me and you.
Tim, Steve, why have you spent 3 weeks in Perth? We did some research. Research at Margaret River. Yeah. So look, two last things. Get the blocker crystal ball out. Who's going to be the Brad Fittler medal winner? So the crystal balls.
Jeez, I keep thinking now that Cook has got Wayne Bennett as a coach, and you look at how good he went last year, but he looks a lot more relaxed this season.
Yeah,
I reckon he's playing, better than what he was last year too. So. For mine, he'll be a focal point for the Queenslanders, of course, but if our forwards, and we've got some monsters in that, if we can win the ruck and get quick play the ball speed and all that sort of stuff, I think Damien Cook's going to be the medal winner.
All right, we'll keep that piece of tape, Damien Cook, for the medal. Now, Block, I want to get nostalgic to wrap it up. Tell me, in your words, about 1985 when Steve Mortimer hit the turf. You were in that team.
Yep.
Brett Kenny scored that amazing try. And New South Wales won Origin for the first time.
It was a big battle leading into the game. New South Wales had not done too well with that great Queensland side. They talk about this great Queensland side. What about when they had like Chris Close and Meninga and Lewis and all those sort of guys? They had a great side. Yeah, just you know what it was? I reckon it was relief. And thinking that one day you could beat Queensland on the Sydney Cricket Ground. I remember it's a picture out here in the front of the building now with Steve Mortimer on bended knee, looking up to the gods.
That must have been one of your great moments.
Great moment, mate. And mate, what a great leader. Not only a great orator and a bloke who could tell you how you wanted to play, but he was a doer. All the great captains I ever played were doers. So he'd get out there and although he spoke a fair bit, was a bloke that would put his body on the line. Mate, it was unbelievable for a little fella like that. Almost embarrassed you into having a dig, but a young side then for New South Wales, and that was the first of a pretty good run for us.
Yeah, it was a great run and a great time. And Origin 1980, it would never work. Here we are, 40 years on.
I'd just like to say this might be my first hello on the podcast because State of Origin is the best contest in Australian sport.
God rest his soul, Rex Mossa, but can you smell the liniment, Block?
Oh, I can smell it all right. Remember Rex used to do the commentary on Channel 7. He'd go, Sterling, Kenny. You remember
the
that?
pipe.
He had the pipe during the game.
Barry,
During the game.
look, Barry, can you find out, Barry? Remember when he used to blow up? If
Barry, hurry up and find out.
What is wrong with him?
Yes.
Can you please find out what's gone wrong with Neville Glover?
I know, yeah. Get off your seat.
Barry!
Yes.
Blocker, that is Behind Blue Eyes for its first week. We're going to be here for the next 9 weeks. We're going to go right through the Origin series. We're going to be in Blues camp next week. So, and be sure to follow the New South Wales Blues on all the socials. We've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify. Whooshka. Did you know there was a whooshka?
What, the only whooshka I ever got was that.
Whooshka.
What is whooshka?
Yeah, something new. And YouTube, they're laughing at our podcast. We're already getting a reaction outside.
Oh, good. Tune in.
And make sure you download the app. Download the app because this is where you can see the podcast with Tim and Bock. And we're going to get some special guests throughout the course of the year.
I can't wait. Let's get some real loose units on that play for New South Wales.
Or some more loose units apart from you and I. I'll see you.
Good evening.
See you next week in camp.
And bye for now.
Bring on the Margaret River.